Who, or what, is Yog Sothoth? Looking to the words of the Prophet H.P. Lovecraft, we can find some indication of what Yog Sothoth is. Lovecraft wrote that Yog Sothoth knows the gate. Yog Sothoth is the gate. Yog Sothoth is the key and guardian of the gate. Now there's a lot to unpack in this brief passage. How can an entity be both the gate and the key? How can it be both the guardian and the gate itself? Let's begin with that first part. Yog Sothoth knows the gate, and Yog Sothoth is the gate. Now most of us, especially those raised in Christian dogma, can probably understand the second sentence well enough. It is only by knowing Yog Sothoth that we can pass from this world into the worlds beyond. We must seek Yog Sothoth so that we can find enlightenment. The first sentence here tells us that Yog Sothoth has the knowledge that we seek. Yog Sothoth is self-aware and sentient. The next part reads, Yog Sothoth is the key and the guardian of the gate. Now, if you were to pass through a gateway, you would need not only the key, but also be able to pass by the guards. This passage reaffirms that the only way to achieve enlightenment is through Yog Sothoth, who alone decides who is worthy. In Through the Gates with the Silver Key, we see the prophet standing before Yog Sothoth, seeking to pass through the final gate. Yog Sothoth tells him, I am ready to grant that which I have granted 11 times only to beings of your planet, 5 times only to those you call men. So passing through the gates is no easy feat. You really have to impress upon Yog Sothoth that you are ready, that you are prepared, that you have done the initial work. In another passage, the prophet tells us past, present, future, all are one in Yog Sothoth. This is our introduction to the idea that Yog Sothoth is omnichronic. That is, Yog Sothoth exists simultaneously in all times. While human perception is that time is a flat dimension, a line moving in only one direction, Yog Sothoth is a being of infinite dimensions and can move through time as easily as we move through a room. Yog Sothoth is also referred to as an all-in-one and a one-in-all of limited being and self, not merely a thing of one space-time continuum, but existing as itself in all iterations of the multiverse. So Yog Sothoth is itself constantly and consistently across every possible existence of reality. Now, in the case of Charles Dexter Ward, the prophet tells us that Yog Sothoth is capable of taking a corporeal form, although it does not choose a human form. Instead, it appears as a conglomeration of glowing spheres. And Through the Gates with the Silver Key, it's an infinite being that is more felt as a presence than seen as a physical entity. Now, Yog Sothoth sees all and knows all, omniscience. To please this deity could bring knowledge of many things. However, like most beings in the mythos, to see or even learn too much about Yog Sothoth is to court disaster. In the writings of the prophet, none who come into contact with Yog Sothoth are left unscathed. Even somebody like the prophet himself in his manifestation as Randolph Carter is affected somewhat negatively by his encounter with Yog Sothoth. He gets his wish granted. He becomes a wizard in an ancient alien world, but he also becomes trapped in that form. Now, while some believe that the favor of Yog Sothoth requires a human sacrifice or eternal servitude, there is little in the writings of the prophet to support this. In fact, in Through the Gates with the Silver Key, the prophet's encounter with Yog Sothoth makes it very clear that it is the point of view which defines the nature of the interaction. While Yog Sothoth's appearance is far from human, there is nothing inherently evil or frightening about it. Yog Sothoth opens the gates of the multiverse to anyone who can reach the gate and is willing to glimpse it. And unlike other nameless devourers, Yog Sothoth is not going to harm you or force you into what you do not want. The prophet has the option of leaving or going forward, and he chooses to go forward, even though the price to see the true or at least partial vastness of all that exists is a flood of knowledge that overwhelms the current self. The viewer is destroyed. You gain this knowledge of the multiverse and your place in it, and your concept of you as yourself is temporarily, at least, destroyed. Now, the writings of the prophet tell us that Yog Sothoth is believed to be the offspring of the nameless mists, which were themselves born of the deity Azathoth, the entity whose dreams create the very fabric of the multiverse. Now, it's also believed that Yog Sothoth and Shub-Niggurath produced the twin deities Nug and Yeb, who are not widely known within the mythos, but Nug sired Cthulhu, who is well known through parthenogenesis. Now, Yog Sothoth may have additional offspring as well. The prophet writes in the Dunwich Horde that Yog Sothoth was able to impregnate a mortal woman, Lavinia Whately, who then gave birth to twin sons, the humanoid Wilbur Whately and his more monstrous unnamed brother. So there's a lot of things we don't know about Yog Sothoth, but by exploring the literature, we certainly can expand our knowledge and come to a deeper appreciation of what he is.